It's the action, point no relaxing. Straight from off the rails with your host, Mr. Patrick. Show we attack, then defend and react. Calculate the damage, then resolve in a snap. Facts with this here and ember blade, leave no witnesses. I just close the combat chain and we winning this. Listen, this a blaze, we ain't going scar for scar. And I'm feeling like a hero, we ain't going card for card. It's the action, point no relaxing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Action Point. This is episode 7, and today's guest is a very special one. You may know Tommy Fresh as that odd dude who had the sign over his head all day in New Jersey last year, but you likely know him as the host of the Fresh and Buds podcast. I have had the privilege of being on a handful of times myself. Tommy Fresh is rolling up on 100 episodes of the show, and we're on a collision course on that milestone and the set release of Dusk Till Dawn, so we're just gonna smush them all together and have one happy conversation. Tommy Fresh, welcome to The Action Point.
Oh, Pat, I'm happy to be here on The Action Point. Happy to be here on Off the Rails TCG. Is this the conglomerate that The Action Point is part of? No, happy to be here, buddy. Any chance to talk with Pat is a good chance that I will take every single time.
And I appreciate that. Appreciate you. Obviously, you know, you're one of my best friends in the game here. So anytime get to do anything together, I'm a big fan of. So before we get into the nitty gritty, let's talk channel updates and stuff. So, you know, it's been a bit of a minute since my last episode of The Action Point, but you know, as I got into this, we said that, you know, it was bespoke project-based content, and so I did it on my own time. And as it turns out, I wanted to do other stuff for the last few weeks, and you know, that ended up working itself out. So what have I been doing? I started one of my projects is the Ninja Assassin project, where we're taking each individual ninja and assassin hero, because those are my two favorite classes in Flesh and Blood, and we're breaking down every deck in every not every format, but Constructed and Blitz. We're going to take a look at every ninja and assassin in both formats. We started with the tried and true Katsu, and you can see that video on the channel. Be sure to subscribe. We get really into the fundamentals of what makes Katsu tick, and got a lot of great feedback from that. And I think we'll take that kind of direction moving forward. And our next, the next Ninja Assassin project video is going to be on Uzuri Classic Constructed. So we'll take a deep dive into Uzuri the Assassin, and we'll get into the real fundamentals and foundations of what makes her work, and how to play her, and then how to play against her, and what to look for on both sides there. Really break it down for the audience. And so really looking forward to that. Also have Phi and Arachne in the wings there. But the last few weeks I've actually been basically, you know, testing Uzuri for all intents and purposes for this video. We did not get to participate in RTN season. So that was another thing that came up. There was just had all the intent in the world of playing a lot of Flesh and Blood, talking about Flesh and Blood, and then it kind of all like fell apart. So I did end up salvaging a bit. I've been playing a lot. I've been at my armory regularly once a week, and now we're growing. Last week we just had a 12-person armory.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. We were all tickled. It's between 4 and 8. And so when we had like everybody from that regular group, and then we had a couple of new people come in, it felt really like we had something going. We usually compete with the Warhammer group that also plays on Tuesdays, and it's, you know, we usually cram into, you know, less tables because they take up all the space, and this time they had to move out. So we were
very
taking
nice.
up the space. Very happy with that. And truth be told, there was kind of a, like, I've been in I don't know if it's not a funk, but like I had like a come down after Pro Tour Baltimore, and I talked with Merrick Kemp, who won the calling there, but I was still kind of on like this, like, I don't know, like not downslide, but just like still there's so much of my time and life like built up to going to Baltimore that, you know, I guess it was still kind of like sliding down. a bit. So I needed to take like a really, hard reset in my mind set when it came to the game and competing there, and not going to the RTNs. It was like a big thing about that, because I had gotten a group together, and we were testing 4, and then Fab Dad stuff, just life kind of gets in the way, and all of a sudden there's no RTNs, which means there's no nationals. But 2 of my locals, one of the regulars that go Tuesday, they both qualified in the Road to National event that they went to. So shout out to TJ and Danny. TJ won it on Lexi. Danny top forward on Reinar. So shout out to you guys. Ooh. Yeah, only Reinar in the building. But congratulations to them. They're both going to Vegas for that, and I will not, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
Yes.
So Tommy, what exactly have you been up to in the last few weeks here? You got a few things going on.
Yeah, well, Baltimore was a lot of fun, but I can empathize with the kind of come down after those big events. I try to focus a lot on the positives. The positives were like hanging out with folks, and then like playing some great side events. Like the calling did not go the way I wanted to, but I also had like 0 time to prepare. So like what would I really expect from it? So it went about as expected. So I did some nice side events and had a good time, hung out with people. And I'm a lot like you. I initially thought I wasn't really going to be able to participate in RTNs at all. And then I was able to make some work, but though I had 2 planned, right? One on Saturday, one on Sunday, and like right after Baltimore. I go to the Saturday one, I believe the day before they announced the dates and the location of the Nationals. And it was a date I could not go to. So, I was playing for nothing, and, I ended up, I was in a position to top 8 at that RTN. It was a limited one, and I conceded to a bud, and then they got the top 8. And just because, what am I going to do? And then I canceled the second one, and unfortunately that store did not give me a refund, which was like kind of a bummer, but I guess it was in the fine print, so I can't get too mad about it. But I just didn't want to play more Fab, that I didn't really prepare for, and I was about to like leave on a vacation. So, I went on a vacation and I got engaged. That was very, very fun and very cool.
Congratulations.
Well, it's funny, on vacation, I started missing Flesh and Blood naturally. So I looked up some RTNs that were happening somewhat locally to me, and I made sure to hit one on the Sunday when I got back, and I did top 8 that one. I did top 4. That was a constructed. I was playing Riptide, which is like a lot of fun. And I also had a pretty decent run at the Pittsburgh Brawl. I did get to go to that, which was a lot of fun. It didn't end up where I wanted it to be, but I started out 3-1 on Riptide, and then got my first feature match.
You sure did.
I sure did. And it didn't go great. It was my worst matchup. It was Oldham, and it was also I'm always going to butcher his name. I'm assuming it's Michael Jasker,
yes.
top 3 global elo in the world at the time. I'm sure after he beat me, he jumped to 1. But
it's like, why did I lose elo winning this match? Tommy Fresh.
To be honest, I would actually. It wasn't a rated. No, it was rated because it was a
brawl.
Oh no, it was not
PTI
rated.
Event. No,
it was
it
actually.
Was a PTI
they were giving
event,
away.
but I don't think it's. You're right. It probably is.
I'm not sure if it was rated, but if I had beaten him and it was rated, that 3 would look like a few more digits after.
If it was rated, you would hear a lot more complaining from the players. I shouldn't even play this.
It's like I could gain elo by just staying at home. Which we hear that one all the time.
The EV playing is always negative.
Tell that to like Michael Fang, who travels around the world to play, like regardless.
And they're showing like him and like Brody Spurlock. They're showing up on at the Thursday Armory before right? The event fires.
Oh yeah,
anyways.
wherever it is locally. Yeah.
Like they're playing 8 times a week. It is ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's the dreams, right? Play the game, see the world. Those two in particular really hammer it home. And you know who else is doing good at that is Matt McInnes. He's been all over the place. You know, BFFs with Carolina. He's got that Pete Davidson energy going for him. All the power to him. He's also just gallivanting around the world here, it seems, and just playing a lot of flesh and blood. You know, I am jealous of those guys for sure.
It is very cool, and I don't know who Matt McInnes is, but I do know Chuck McInnes, who is he's a great dude, and I'm always rooting for him. Yeah, it's been a fun couple weeks. You know, been kind of happy just to be able to go to my local armory each week lately. We've been having a tough time getting enough people. It's kind of a bummer. We have like a pretty the one I go to is pretty central to a lot of New Jersey, but for whatever reason, I guess Thursday night's not the best, and we also have to compete with Commander players, and it's always and to this day it blows my mind that there are like 30 people showing up for Commander, and I'm just like, okay, I mean more power to them, but you know, that was not the Magic I played.
It is wild. When in the heart of my Commander days, we were good if we got like 10 or 12. We felt good at the LGS that I played a lot in. But then like COVID happened, and then you just had like Commander on demand, and that was like that's too much Commander. You know how much is Commander?
Oh yeah.
How much is too much when you can never get enough? You can get a game 24/7. If you can't sleep and it's 2:30 and you can pick up your deck and go to your computer and just LFG the world, and someone's bound to pick up. It's too much. It's too much. It desensitizes you. It's like Talishar. Talishar, it feels like it desensitizes me a bit from the game. You can have too much Talishar. My son has started to this is a tangent, but it comes back. My son has started using my wife and I our phones. So he's got a tablet that he likes to use, but it's not, his iPad is busted, and it's really expensive to get those repaired. So we're waiting for a bit. So he's got like an Amazon Fire thing, but that iPad not only had he's autistic, so he's got a talking device on the iPad. It's not necessary, but he uses it a bunch. So without that and the high quality camera and the video software that comes with Apple products, he's really been hurting. So the Amazon Fire is like, you know, it's a crappy camera, 5-minute and cap on the videos. So he's been taking our phones and going through our photos and recording himself and having a grand old time. But of course, that's my phone, right? Like, what am I supposed to do while you're using it?
How will I ever be able to entertain myself? We only did it for a majority of our life at this point, and somehow now we don't know how to go back.
But we found a workaround, because I got my own iPad recently. I got it for Baltimore is what I did. Like it's a, you know, I'm an adult, I can spend my money however I want. I bought an iPad so I could test on Talishar more frequently going into Baltimore. It is what it is. But now I have it, right? So we've gotten into the habit on like weekends my wife goes out and works, you know, she's got the car. It was just me and him hanging around the house, so I give him my phone. He likes to look through the things. I sit with him and I peruse my iPad. I've been playing like just low key, like, you know, Talishar on the side there. And so for the last few weeks, he's been kind of coming up to me and going, adage, and not pushing for anything in particular, but I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And, you know, moving about my life. So last weekend, we're sitting in my bed. He's on my phone, I'm on my iPad, and he goes over to my iPad and he goes, adage. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I give it to him. And so he starts scrolling and he finds the icon for Microsoft Edge. And he clicks it and it opens up. And he starts, he goes to my tabs and picks the Talishar logo and opens up. And he goes, match up. I'm like, oh, okay. I've been playing too much, but now you want me to. This is fine. So
Yeah.
his thing for me is I should be playing Flesh and Blood on Talishar while he's on the phone. And I'm like, all right, this is a system I can get used to.
Well, he's probably like, Dad leaves me alone a lot
Yeah.
when he's on the adage, and so he's like, yeah, Dad, come on, go, you have fun. You have fun. I'm gonna be over here with the phone.
My wife can attest that I am the worst helicopter parent, but I will have, like, if he's on the swings doing whatever, I am just, hey, what are you doing? Okay, me, Kadachi for one on the phone while I can. But yeah, all right. So just bringing it back. Talishar desensitizes people. You can play Talishar all you want.
Sure.
But son wants me to do it. That's where that was going. I do want to talk about. Let's talk Flesh and Blood amongst ourselves.
Sure.
So, Riptide.
Yeah.
You've kind of moved into this Riptide sphere here. You picked up a streaming feature on as piloting the deck here. Tell me a little bit about how that deck is going right now, and where you see Riptide in the world.
So it's kind of interesting. I think it's like so tough because in the Ranger world, I'm very new to it, right? Mm-hmm. I've had many conversations with my co-host on the Blood Rush Bill, Gary, about New Horizons. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I don't want to buy it. I don't want to learn how to play with it. That's basically where I'm at. I'm a brute player. I want to play like a brute when I'm playing other classes. I know I want to eat my cake and have it too, but it's who I am, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I was immediately drawn to Riptide, well, because he's gross looking, right? And traps are very, very cool. Just like it's such the way, especially after they changed it, it's just such a satisfying way to play the game, in my opinion. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to learn this Riptide hero. I built some builds of my own that kind of were usually on the grindier side, that had like great matchups into it, like all the aggro decks. But then like Oldhim was a problem, Dromai is a huge problem, Kano's whatever, unbeatable. When you have a ton of traps in your deck.
Yep.
So
yeah.
It just is what it is. So I'm a Levia player, right? But Levia certainly got to a point when, Lexi was kind of getting to coming to a head in terms of being one of the best decks. Levia has a rough matchup into Lexi unless you're just fatiguing her. And at this point, with things like Codex, kind of, you can just move past the whole fatigue thing. Yep. You have to be Oldhim to be even close to fatiguing this deck. So I was like, okay, well, I'll take a break from Levia. I'm assuming at the time I'm assuming Dusk Till Dawn will have some Levia toys, right? So I was like, I'll visit her again in July, and I can't wait for that. So I was like, all right, Riptide's cool. So messing around with it, and a bud named Jesse Harper, you might know him as the Orc Knight. He had tested with me for Nationals last year on the Talishar 10 with the Attack Action boys and their crew. And I ran into him at Baltimore, and he was like, yeah, man, I day 2'd with Riptide at the calling. I was like, what? I was like, you gotta send me that list. I gotta take a look. And it's very aggro, but it was not like the New Horizons Death Dealer stuff. He was running Dreadbore, and just like, it felt so good to play. So I just picked up that deck, and I just started learning it and like talking to him about different matchups. And eventually I just started getting success with it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep running it. And then it was kind of all I had built for a bit. And I think it's still all I really have built, except for a weird Razor Reflex Levia deck that's not good. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I did actually, a little tangent. It is off the rails TCG anyway.
Absolutely.
I got absolutely demolished by a Razor Reflex Levia on Talishar the other day. not even like what you think, right? Like it had like the Boneyard Marauders and it had like some Graveling Growls or whatever, but it had like Bingo in it.
Oh, yeah.
And some other wacky stuff, and I got like rolled. It was pretty crazy. So very cool stuff. But yeah, where was I? Riptide's awesome. This build is very cool. I've messed around with it a little bit since then. I'm still in Dreadbore. I started playing around with Death Dealer. It's awesome. Replaces the card. Very cool. Dreadbore always gives your Bolt and Shot go again. That's where I landed, and the static effect on the arrows is pretty insane, right?
Yeah,
like I always
against the right deck.
Yeah, it feels so good, and then it's just kind of sitting in Riptide. It doesn't even matter. It just kind of sits there anyway because you're usually loading by just playing something, right? You don't even have to activate the deck, so it's very cool. Been playing around with that. I actually just built like a non-arrow version of the deck that's like running like what the heck is it called? Frontline Scout and Promise of Plenty and like all this
the real spicy stuff right there.
It's pretty wacky. Like I basically like looked at Riptide and I was like, okay, how do I make Codex of Inertia a true pot of greed? Right? It's like, all right, well, I have to have something that always is going to attack after I play Codex of Inertia, right? And it's really cool, right? You kind of like Skullbone Crosswrap to fix the top of your deck. You're playing other things. You always know what you're gonna hit, and then you get pretty wild. And you know, there's a reason there are 3 go agains and not 4 go agains, because that deck would be pretty insane. But yeah, that's where I'm at with Riptide. I think he's just so cool. I don't know what the future of his deck is going to be. He eats up Lexis for breakfast. It's awesome. But the Dromai matchup is winnable, but it's not good. And then I don't know how it's going to be with Prism, and we have no idea what Vincent's even going to play like. So that could be, it seemed to be defensive, so that could be an issue as well. So yeah, I don't know. Riptide's really cool. I think he's really good for the meta because like if it lines up, he's the deck, which is really cool. Which, you know, it feels a lot like Rhinar in that way. Not so much Leviah yet. And we'll get to that, I'm sure. You know, I think Rhinar could be the deck at any given tournament. We've seen it happen. We saw it happen at the Calling San Jose. And I think Riptide will fall into that slot. We're not there until Oldham's gone, though. So, yeah.
But I have to, Riptide just seemed, you know, when I was on your show, we had talked about, right, Outsiders, the previews for Outsiders that just happened, right? And, you know, I said, you know, wait, right? Everyone kind of dismissed, you know, Azuri for being underpowered and Riptide's ability for being too cute and like being able to just fatigue out. And, you know, given enough time, now they're, you know, Azuri is one of the top decks in the format right now, and Riptide is on the come up. It is all over the place. And that New Horizons Death Dealer build was that one. My armory last week went 4-0, and I've never seen that version before. But I was on Katsu, and it just, not only did my opponent clearly watched my video for on the Ninja Assassin project, because blocked just to perfection against me and really just shut me down, but was also just having these like crazy value turns, and just the ability to have the face up card and just off to the side and then do Riptide stuff and then just add to that. Oof.
It is something that it's tempted me to learn how to do it, you know, and maybe buy the New Horizons. I'd rather just open it. Well, I'll just buy some more Tails. Why not?
It's a great set.
Yeah.
So there is a version of Riptide that I don't know if you've had a chance to play yet, but it is the bane of Blitz. We know how much you love Blitz, but if I told you that Riptide was basically one of the top decks there, is that enough to get you perhaps shuffling up 40 cards here and putting it out there?
Well, listen, Pat. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is the with like the I guess you play Talishar,
Yeah, you
right?
play
And then
the Talishar is the weapon.
nourishing emptiness.
Yep.
And just traps.
And drones of brutality.
Drones of brutality. Yep. It's everything I want in Riptide, right? And I am a fan of that deck quite a bit, and it has tempted me onto the Blitz side. And something else that tempted me into Blitz is Oldhim and Icelander not being there.
Yep.
And that was a huge thing. Kano's still an issue.
Yeah, Kano's definitely.
I guess Reinhardt is too, but Reinhardt, it's like you got to win. I feel like you have to win that first turn, or else it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really does. Like Reinhardt is always going to have the specter of the first turn OTK, or should first turn close to, and basically just wrap it up on turn 2. But it's not as consistent as you'd probably like it to be as a Reinhardt player. Shocking. But especially with today's equipment suites and most of the heroes, there's so much armor block to the point where if you're not taking away their entire hand, you're not necessarily threatening with that fair mid-range brute game that gets there. But there's a lot of value happening in Blitz right now. Right, no ice. Oh, the warriors have come up. Right, Kasai is bonkers. You're actually seeing some of the assassins come up too, but it's really wide open. But you have the basically the heroes that can deal with Kano and can't, and there's a lot that can't. And it really is. I don't know. Like Kano is one of those things with me. I just it's one of those like it's turn 2, someone dies, and I'm not a huge fan of that like play style. There.
Yeah.
And Prism is showing up. That's a little scary as well. But
we just need another big skirmish season. We'll start clearing out these young heroes, that are a problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. We need a bit of a rotation outside of these ice heroes here, a natural progression into some of these new heroes here. I do one of the coming up on the Ninja Assassin project here at Off the Rails TCG. I have been working on a 5 blitz list that you thought maybe with Mask of Pouncing Links out that it might be not great, but it turns out when you don't have to worry about Oldhim or Icelander frostbiting you can still attack for a huge chunk, and you can still be super aggressive. Really fun to deal with. What's not fun, Tommy, is losing to Blood Debt, which is something that you haven't done in a bit here because you have been on Riptide. But Dusk Till Dawn is just around the corner, and there's a lot of talk about there's 8 different kinds of prisms, right? Prism and Chain are getting serialized cards. There's a new Shadow Rune Blade. There is talk about Dorinthia off on the side. There's Stained Glass. There's Angels. There's the Monastery. There is no Levia talk at all. It has been quiet. What is? Are you getting nervous here?
Well, Patrick, I would implore you to take a look at my DMs. There are tons of Levia talk happening behind the shadows, behind the curtains here, where and mostly Ethan's Discord. But I'm not nervous at all, to be honest. So for the first time, Fresh and Bloods will be spoiling a card.
Yay!
And I have seen it, and I will tell you this: it makes me very optimistic about the way they design cards that Levia can use going forward. I will say that. I think what I saw was awesome. I've talked to some other people who saw some stuff, and they're very optimistic as well. It could be what do the kids say, copium, but it's like but I think we're all going to eat real good with Levia, and I think Levia is going to be the big surprise of the set, right? I think it would be. I think Vincent is hero ability seems teed up to be very cool, right? And I think it is also teed up to disappoint all the chain players.
Absolutely, yes.
Right?
Yep.
Because it is fair. Is like the first thing, and it's definitely hinting at a totally different play style, right? Which might not be poised to be great. It could be good, but I don't know if it'll be great. And then Prism, I would be so surprised if this Prism matches the power level of the first Prism at like anywhere like close to it, right? Like Chain and Prism were just out of control good. A lot like a lot of the Tales of Aria heroes, but neither here nor there. It's old flesh and blood. We're in the future. So it would seem weird to me for them to print like another insane set of heroes. I think that balance had to have been the forefront of their minds here, right? They took swings with Monarch. I think it was the first set design to my knowledge. But like even after that, they showed that they were still taking swings with Tales of Aria Everfest, but kind of took a step back in Uprising a little bit, and then moved into Outsiders with, I think, a very balanced approach. So what does that mean? The two heroes that people don't talk about a lot, Bolton and Leviah, I think they have the most to gain here. We saw the bannerets for Bolton. I don't know if they are interesting, and I think they're a step in the right direction for Bolton. We all know that Bolton has this really naturally bad thing going on unless you're doing combo, and I think they want Raiden to be the answer. And I think they're going to design cards that are going to make Raiden the answer. Now, what does that mean for Leviah? I think they have to give her something, right? And I think it's happening. I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're going to be eating good.
That's super encouraging. Now, I don't want you to spill the beans here, but I do want to kind of theory craft here. So is Leviah as she built adequate, or does she need to have a new hero in order to really go over the top?
No, what's interesting about her, right, is her hero ability is like, it's not good, right? But it makes a lot of other cards feel very good, right? Carrying Husk feels great in Leviah. It felt good in Chain, but like it felt great in Leviah, right? It's like, I get the block for 6 and not really, like, if I'm winning, I don't really have to worry about that one blood debt. And then there's other things like Howl from Beyond feels great in Leviah, like if you're doing the recursion stuff, Ghostly Visit. So you can kind of print cards that just feel good in Leviah, right? I will say my card, and this is not giving anything away, it could work in any version. It doesn't even have to run blood deck cards, but it would be totally fine in a version that's running blood deck cards. So like if they continue to print cards like that, right? So you can kind of have this like balanced approach that is flexible within builds. I think her base hero ability is fine. That being said, I'm sure they will print a new one. I don't know if it's happening this set. I would be very interested. There's something about kind of this, her like from a lore perspective, her story that feels like she is kind of set up to have a redemption arc. Right? She was an enslaved girl. She sold her soul to the devil or whatever, and was able to break free, but like it now keeps getting manipulated by like Chain and Vincent and whatever, the Disciples of Pain and all these different things, and fighting for the monastery. But what does she really care? But she's just kind of like almost enslaved again, but she doesn't even know. So you're almost setting her up to kind of have this kind of redemption arc. So I could see them from a story standpoint. It would make a lot of sense to give her something new. Like in terms of a hero card,
it's when she's the big burly, heel wrestler with the heel manager, but she's like the brooding quiet type, and then you know that she's bad for years, and then at like WrestleMania, the heel manager starts pushing her around, and you just see the hand go against the throat right there, and the crowd cheers because that time has come. She's got to have her Kane moment there.
Yeah.
Coming up. I know LSS are a wrestling fan, so I'm sure they're working on it. I always said I think the monastery is getting a bad rap. There's the latest stories that have come. I haven't looked at like everything, but like there was one that came out that just put the magistrates in Solana just in a light that that was not great, and that I really enjoy that kind of ambiguity there, right? It's not just light good, dark bad, right? Everyone's got their own goals, their own reasons for doing things, and it's that territorial dispute is much more murky.
I think we'll find that the real villain is always war, right? And that is and I don't know.
What is it good for? Nothing.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pandering to like the Solana people, but like the monster, they're not the greatest, right? And Solana's, whatever. They're kind of zealots, I guess is the best way to put it.
Very much so. And no one likes a zealot, but they're kind of both in that kind of there's extremists on both ends there. I still it'd be really unfortunate for Bolton if the Raiden answer is to give it to Dorinthia, and I think that might be. Super Saiyan Dorinthia has been on my bingo card for this set for quite some time, so I wouldn't be shocked if that were the case. Right. Before we're going to talk more about Dusk Till Dawn, but I do want to get in our first community question from Kale of Dead Summer Art. He asks, one, why are you so damn wholesome? And the second part, what is it about Levia and Riptide that you connect with so much? And he goes, is it looks?
Well, Kale's awesome. Just had him on the show. We try to do a lore episode before every set, and I mean, Kale just does his homework and comes on. Is amazing, and just it's kind of really enlightens us all.
It's really great. It's a good one for sure.
And I would if you don't listen to any Fresh Buds, listen to those ones because they're just awesome. You kind of you flesh out the flesh and blood world a little bit. And wholesome, I don't know. I just like I want to be treated like a human, so I want to treat everybody else like that. And buds are good, like friends are good. I've had a lot of negative experiences in TCGs in the past before Flesh and Blood, and when I got into Flesh and Blood as the time 29-year-old, I did not want to. If I had any control over it, I did not want to create those negative experiences for other people, right? And and I believe a lot of Flesh and Blood felt that way, right? Because older crowd, more mature, coming out of a pandemic, we're like, we want human interaction. We want people to continue playing this game because we all love it. We all know how great it is. So that's basically it. Just treat people with respect, and then and then Levi and Riptide. Yeah, it is looks. Let's be real. No, I kind of like an underdog hero. I can't help it. Levi is very much they're both very flavorful, like in the ways that I love it. Horror movie-esque. You look at Riptide, it looks like Frankenstein's monster. Levia is just tentacles and scary and big claws and just like has a really interesting story. And I don't know, you look at Dread Screamer or Endless Maw or Hungering Slaughter Beast, you're like, these cards are the coolest cards, and they're with quote unquote one of the worst heroes. So I'm like, oh, I'm in. So, but yeah, I guess in a way it is kind of the looks. So
I can get behind that. We know that I started on Levia, and I think she has the potential to be, main character material here. And it is a little. It's unfortunate that she just, it is it's tough to play her. You really gotta want it. And sometimes even if you do, you end up killing yourself. And it just, it is what it is.
Yeah. I think I made like just like kind of a joke, but it was like at the time when I made the joke, it was like, well, what if? I think Bryn from the Banished Zone had posted one of the pictures that they released of like some kind of angel from like Solana or whatever. And I believe she posed the question on Twitter, who is this? And I jokingly was like, Leviah Purified, right? And like it didn't make sense. Like it definitely was one of the heralds or whatever, the angels that they're gonna have. But what if we see this? Like, I don't know if I'll love Leviah Purified more than I love the original Shadowborn Abomination, but it would be kind of neat to see.
It's great, so if that happens, you think she'd go back to, because she's still like 10, right? Like as the Abomination, like in real time. Like, so you think she'd just be like a little cherub at that point? If she was,
I guess she could, or
she maintains the exoskeleton with wings. That would be cool.
Yeah. That would be
leathery bat wings.
Oh my god!
Just stuck in that purgatory. She's neither, so she's all.
I mean, you're speaking my language. It sounds awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think my take on it is, I think we have like adult Leviah is Leviah a little bit after that happened. I don't think she's quite 10. I'm not sure, but or the demon made her grow up to be an adult. I don't know.
She's definitely taller as the Shadowborn Abomination. All right, so one aspect of Dusk Till Dawn that was revealed with both the Unity mechanic and the card itself, with the fantastic trailer produced by LSS and Alex Norville. Shout out to both of them. That is a fantastic trailer. If you haven't checked it out, go to the YouTube channel for Fab TCG and watch that trailer. It's got voiceover work. 3 floating help contribute to that, and really top-notch stuff. But at the end of it, they show the card United We Stand, which talks about characters in your party and opens up just the doorway to this wonderful world of PvE. Now, are you ready for some PvE in Flesh and Blood?
So I am. For the one reason is I know it's a way to get a lot of my non-card game playing friends into the game. It seems like that is the best way to do it, right? Like, we're working together, right? Let's work together, or if it's teams, right? Because they kind of hinted that as well. I know in the article it says this is kind of like a PvE thing, but we don't know if that's like whoever wrote the article or if it's a red herring in a way. Like, I think this would be an awesome card to have in a 3v3 format or something like that, 2v2 even. We don't know what party is. I'm interested to see if party could just be you, right? Like if you like United We Stand feels like you have to be able to play it in Constructed because it's coming out in a supplemental expansion set, right? And if that's the case, it's a really good card for Bolton, right? It's a popper that, when you block with it, you get a courage token. We don't really know what that is yet, I don't think.
When this defends together with a card from hand, if Bolton is your party, create a courage token under his control. Then repeat for Bravo and Seismic Surge, Briar in Embodiment of Earth, Dorinthia in Courage.
Oh, they both get courage.
Both get courage. So I believe it is the +1 weapon counter.
So it doesn't. Okay. It doesn't need to be Dawnblade.
It does not need to be Dawnblade.
Interesting.
Lexi in Embodiment of Lightning. So Uldum and Spellbane Aegis, which Jubil creates on those. They're really underrated, and not a lot of people play with it, but I've been known to throw it into my Dorinthia list. And when I'm going up against Icelander or Kano, I like to do AB2 and Jubil, and it still does. It does work. Yeah. Prism and Spectral Shield, and Cheyenne and Eloquence are the other.
So if courage tokens make a +1 counter on a weapon or sword, whatever it is, it feels great and it feels better off of Dawnblade, right? Like, because Dawnblade is the one that will lose the counters, right? If you put it on a Raiden, the counter's never going away.
If you put it on a Dawnblade Resplendent, it also wouldn't go away. But classic Dawnblade. But yeah, Dawnblade is the only one that the original Dawnblade is the only one where the counters would come off of it. But having a Raiden that's default as a 1, all of a sudden,
always a Kodachi.
Yeah,
that seems awesome.
Fantastic for free as long as you meet some conditions. Ooh, now we're talking. Well,
no, it would be free regardless. You could block out and still present 1 if you had a +1 counter, right? It just costs 0.
Yeah, I'd say as a Kodachi, more efficient, resource free at that point. So I had heard that team aspect very recently. And I hadn't thought about the idea of a party. I've always had my blinders on this PvE scenario, but the idea of like a sanctioned 2v2 or 3v3 team type format, that gave me goosebumps. Like full constructed 3-headed Cerberus. I don't know if you call it 2-headed giant, 3-headed.
It sounds amazing. I think that would be so much fun. I don't know if it would be great. It would be great as like a real tournament thing, but it would be a great like casual or even pre-release kind of thing to do and stuff like that. So I don't know. It sounds awesome to me.
And now, are you gonna have? Are you ready for the 30 people nights of PvE, Flesh and Blood, and still have 4 people trying to fire off the armory when this skyrockets through the roof here?
I mean, I don't know. I think I would be happy for the game as long as they aren't printing the my issue with Commander in Magic was like all the Commander cards started sneaking into standard sets, and like all of a sudden my limited experience was getting ruined. And if you ruin my limited experience, I'm gonna be mad. Yeah, so like, sure. I don't see this happening. Like I don't even see like. I think this could only be a positive for the game because guess what? Like you're most likely building a blitz deck or a constructed deck for this, a lot like UPF, and then you can just kind of it's like, oh, okay. Well, it would be cool to just be like that is Armory one night, for the month. Absolutely. Like we're gonna do the team thing, or if you guys want, or we just go back to CC Blitzer Limited. So I think it can only be positive.
I'm ready for some LARPing. I'm ready for like PvE Dungeons and Dragons style, like one shot. I need a game master across from me. I want to become a ninja of some sort. You know what I mean? Like maybe Katsu. We get to just change the names. There's a whole. I am ready. Is what it comes down to for some from PvE. I want to build. As competitive as I am, I do want to build like suboptimal decks. Like I would love to have the assassin with all the weapons, right? All the daggers, both sides, full equipment suite taken up. You can't do that you can't do that in constructed. Your sideboard would be 15 dagger, 15 deep, and it's just not going to happen. But you could do that in PvE and have super flavorful, Azuri Switchblade with
that would be awesome.
Weapons, all cold foil, all facing the opposite way. It's the dream. All right, so we have the two new Blitz/limited heroes from Dusk Till Dawn. I know you kind of dove deep in with Sin on your show about Vincent, but just kind of quickly, we talked about Vincent a little bit, but Prism's impact. You think the Advent of Thrones, I believe, is her name here. What kind of impact do you think that this new Prism is going to have?
I think we also saw the adult name as well.
It is Awakener of Soul.
Awakener of Soul.
We do not know what she's going to do, but it is 100%. I saw this on social media somewhere, but it's come up a few times. LSS has is track record of their named heroes and when their young heroes will be their, the adults junior counterpart. It is 100% that if the young hero is named, if there's an adult version, it'll be something different. Like Kasai, Centauri Sellsword, you will not see Sellsword as an adult. I guarantee it. But if you look at the multiple Dorinthias and things of that nature, the people have been saying, like, I wonder, Awakener of Soul is going to be the same ability as Advent of Thrones. I guarantee it's not. It's going to be completely different.
You guarantee it.
Guarantee it.
You guarantee it.
Yep. Okay. Bet your paycheck on it.
Okay, no, it's not much. It's not much, Pat. You might want to bet somebody else's paycheck. So it's interesting because the way I see it, well, they can't just name Prism again as a young hero. So they kind of have to have two different names for this version. I think it's the first time we're seeing this, right? The first time we're seeing a new young and a new adult, right? There's no precedent for this.
Yeah, in the same set, we saw young Icelander first.
We saw young Icelander first, but it was only one name, right? So we knew that there was going to be an adult version. But
yeah, we haven't seen two like this. We've seen like Arachne is almost like I'd give it like the asterisk there because you knew Arachne was in Outsiders, but it came in as solitary confinement. So you have the named young hero, which is different than the other Arachnes around it.
The one thing that I will say that makes me think that you might be right is why haven't they shown us Prism adult and Vincent adult, right? Mm-hmm. Why did they just spoil the young heroes? Vincent adult being different is going to be weird, right?
Yeah, that would definitely be weird. My guarantee is that adult Vincent is the same ability and adult Prism will be different.
Yeah. So it's tough to say. So I'm going to operate on the assumption that Prism is going to be the same because I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be. It's the young Prism hero ability seems so specific and interesting that where can they go from there? If they're printing, they're only going to have a certain amount of card pool to work with here. Now they could do an iteration of the Figment stuff. We don't really know what Figments are, I don't think. And basically my take is if adult Prism is 32 health,
we don't know. If it's based on the same, it would be 32. Another reason why I think it might not be, because that would be, I know Kano's 30, but I would be shocked to see it give me 38, 36, something like that.
I had a conversation with Cody Williams, who great player, and has played a lot of Chain, played a lot of Prism. And I was like, "Oh, you saw the new hero text? Are you excited?" He's like, "Not really, especially for Prism, right? Because original Prism was kind of like take a ton of damage, set up a bunch of auras. Now we play the game, right?" And this, if new Prism's at 32, you can't really do that. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. They gave, I believe, Pheno's spoiling Awakener of Soul. So I don't know. I really, Prism is another world to me, right? And I think that based on what we've seen, I don't think Prism is going to be great. Luminar, the original Luminaris was so good, right?
Yeah, it was,
and too good. And this new Luminaris has the ability to be quite good. So we'll see. I don't know. I think Prism's gonna. I think it would be a mistake to make Prism overpowered. Right? It's not just how that deck works because it's still gonna have access to all the spectra, right?
Yeah, it is.
You can print a million other light illusionist cards. Spectra will always be there. So
yeah, you're gonna have your.
It's gonna be it's going to have
quarter
annoying
of your
ways.
deck is already built, no matter what.
Yeah. So, yeah, Prism, I don't know, take her or leave her. I don't care. Vincent, however, I think is queued up to be a very unique hero. A departure, not a departure, but like it feels like a departure from the classic Runeblade style, which I'm a big fan of. You know, we don't need another non-attack this. You know, we don't need that anymore. And it looks very defensive. I think that's a good thing. A defensive deck that deals damage to itself is very interesting and makes me pretty excited. I would play a deck like that. That seems like, you know, for the Magic players out there, I always loved Death Shadow. Was that yeah, you had to like lose life to make the card good.
You gotta hurt yourself. It starts with -13.
Yeah. So like, I'm a huge fan of that style of play. So I think Vincent's gonna be very cool, and it could be like a silver bullet in a meta, right? I don't think it's gonna. You really have to be either the best control deck in the world or an aggro deck to take over the CC meta, right? Like that's just how it is. And then you have your role players. So I think Vincent will be a role player. So that's where I'm at with these new heroes based on what we've seen.
That is fair. All right, let's talk. Let's move on to content. We'll have a good content talk. So you are at 100. You're coming up on 100 episodes. It's not easy by any means. Tell me about what the next few weeks look like as you roll towards the finish line here, because you're stopping at 100. That's it. It's the finale.
It's funny. I had another podcast, like not a non-trading card game podcast, that we stopped after 100. I don't plan on doing that with this. Next few weeks is pretty straightforward. It's just kind of getting ready for Dusk Till Dawn. Tomorrow, like the day after that we're recording this, I will be having Yuki Lee Bender on, have a great chat, and then the week after that we have Hamish from Push the Point coming on, and we're gonna do like nice little. I think we'll be recording the day after we see all the spoilers, so we'll have like an early impressions kind of show. And hopefully right after 4th of July, I'll start recording the set review with Bill from Spike Feeders. Now, I don't know if that's going to be episode, because if that is the next episode after Hamish, that would be episode 100. I don't know if I want the set review to be episode 100, but also that's kind of cool, right? I did reach out to James White. He's very busy, so he wasn't able to come on. That's okay. James, if you're listening,
I know what that email says. Yeah. You wish, kid. But other than that, man, I just recorded a ton of footage for this spoiler video that I hope I can edit this week. I'm gonna just learn how to do it, man. This will be a lot of sleepless nights, and I'm gonna really, like, first spoiler, took 100 episodes to get there. I want to do a good job, make a good impression. It'll be the first time a lot of people have their eyes on the channel, and you have to kind of think about that, and you want to impress them. So I'm stressed. So it's good, but like I'm happy to make it to 100. It's become a very positive thing in my life. It's just like, oh well, I get to make a podcast every week, and I'm passionate about podcasting, and I'm passionate about talking about this game, so it just kind of works out. So that's the next couple weeks, man. I'm just staying the course. Now you were rolling also close to 500 subscribers here, which it took a while. You've been advertising the Leviah cosplay for a bit now. If I were a betting man, I would say that is about to just rocket past 500, close to when the spoiler comes out. Are you ready for?
Am I? No.
Video editing. Have you been gluing tentacles together?
Not yet. So I think when I hit around 490, I'll start looking at that stuff. I mean, it'll be on my own time. I think anybody that has has looked forward to it will be understanding that I will have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I had Rachel Stoddart, Dash cosplayer on the podcast, and she hooked me up with the cosplay Discord, which I joined, and I told them, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not working on this cosplay yet, but when I am, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. So yeah, so at 500 subscribers, you know, taking a while. I've you know, I was like kind of old man, kind of like, podcasting's an audio thing, and then you kind of just realize you gotta get with the times and then do the YouTube stuff. So started working on that. Brought on Greg, aka Darth Prentice, as a producer, and he's been helping polish everything and make it look great and sound great. So, and we've been doing like, you know, shorts and stuff like that, and try to do some extra content here and there. So it's been, I feel like it's been organic growth.
Shorts have been good.
The shorts are good. I mean, Greg does a great job. I could never do that good by myself, but you know, it's been organic growth, which I think is good. Like, I'm not out here, and no shade to anybody that does it. I think it works, but like, I'm not out here be like, at 500 subscribers, I'm giving away an alpha box or something like that. Like, you know, if I wanted to invest my money into that, I could have, right? But I think like it makes more sense. Like, at 500 subscribers, I'm going to make a fool of myself, and you guys have to deal with it, you know? So like, you know,
that in itself is a gift.
Yeah, that is the biggest gift of all. So, you know, that's just kind of how the growth has gone, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Interested to see how it goes, though. I don't know. It's gonna be scary.
So, coming up on 100 episodes, I feel like you've really kind of hammered down your formatting, right? Like the way you present your podcast. You are a machine in that you record like the same time every week. You have a release schedule. You're releasing on every Thursday like clockwork, and you've even added a second podcast, the live one, to the rotation. When you are getting to, you know, it's time to record, you have that, you know, kind of layout there. Are you do you find that to be helpful to you? Do you find like after 100 you kind of want to switch it up sometimes, or are you comfortable with, I guess your formatting as it is? Do you ever get sick of it?
You know, sometimes I worry that my formatting is repetitive. I have not gotten any complaints about that, and I think and something I listen to a lot of podcasts, I kind of look forward to something that's familiar, right? Like, I think I would like to think that the listeners are like, oh, okay, well, he's gonna talk about the host or the guest, and then it's gonna hit the fresh faves, and then they're gonna talk about some Flesh and Blood, and then we're gonna say goodbye, and then hopefully have time for Charmer. And you know, that is, you know, it's a nice little.
I've been tracking that.
yeah. But you know, that is I like the format, and it's kind of, I'm in a groove, and you know, I get challenged a little bit when I have repeat guests, right? Like, well, I can't just interview them again. We gotta talk about, what's new, and then like, let's talk about some serious Flesh and Blood or whatever, you know. So it's good, and I think like each individual guest is like a different, it feels fresh. You know, like, sure. it feels good, and you know, I got like a lot of repeat guests that are awesome, like yourself. Kale is a great example. Bill's awesome, always coming on for the set review, and you know, and then tons of others. So like, I'll tell you what, I don't know if Ethan's going to come on my podcast or I'm going to go on his channel, but we're going to do like a big Levia like review, I think.
Excellent.
After Dusk Till Dawn, and that should be really cool. So yeah, and in terms of like writing the outline and stuff like that, like I kind of just have the conversation in my head while I'm writing it, so it kind of helps me almost rehearse in a way, even though it's all off the cuff, kind of talking like beyond just the questions. So yeah, I don't think it's gotten stale. You know, it would take for the game to get stale for the podcast to get stale, I think.
Now you found the time to, and the motivation to get the Bud Rush Bellows going on Wednesday night. So what's kind of the underlying motivation to add to your schedule with this new venture with Gary?
I was listening to an old podcast. The first podcast I ever really listened to was a podcast called Let's Do This. It was from a website called spill.com. And spill.com, they used to do these little animated shorts of movie reviews because all their podcast was usually, they had multiple podcasts. Their podcast main one was like just reviewing the movies. They were like official movie reviewers, right? Or critics, I think is the word. I know words, they're good. So years ago, and then they got bought out by Hollywood.com, and then they had a whole falling out, and then they had to like kickstart a whole new website in like 2015 or something like that, maybe 2014, called Double Toasted. And Double Toasted they're running hot, still kind of same format of podcasting, but they do all their podcasts live, which was interesting because I kind of fell off of them, and then I kind of listened to them again recently because like some movies were coming out that I was interested in, and I kind of just loved the live vibe that they were doing. You know, kind of just like being able to be off the cuff and just kind of be a little bit sillier. And it's like, well, that's show business. Like, we're going live. So I was like, I kind of do that with Fresh and Buds, but like not the actual show, like try something new. And initially I was like, well, is it going to just be me? I thought about doing like a weird solo show. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just bring in guests all the time. And then it just kind of, you know, I was like, all right, we'll bring Gary on and see how it goes. And, you know, Gary and I we have been friends since before we played Flesh and Blood. So kind of, we had this nice chemistry that it works out. And we're not getting thousands of views on that, but like, it is fun. And the folks that tune in seem to have a good time in chat and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We've definitely kind of fell into a better groove. I think, you know, we had some pacing issues in the beginning and probably going too long, but now we can try to keep it to around an hour, right? You know, it's like an hour of people's times before they go to bed. So yeah, Blood Rush Bellow. It's a fun, you know, it's one of those ones like, you know, I kind of screwed myself. 9:30 Wednesdays is like, you know, sometimes I'm just not gonna be able to do that, or sometimes I'm gonna have to say no to things because I'm gonna do the Blood Rush Bellow. But you know, that's what being live is. So it was also a hope to grow the channel, and I think it did a little bit. You know, some organic growth there. So yeah, that was the plan there. And I think it's a good time.
It absolutely is. I like tuning in as much as I can. It is late for this old guy. And so I do listen to it though. Follow up to this is our second community question from our friend Capolo, who did try to ask his damn question, but I told him I would ban him from my Discord if he tried. So he does ask, do you have anything new you are planning to do in the future? Perhaps a cooking show with Lady Fresh?
Well, she has no real interest in doing any content. She just likes being supportive, which is awesome. In terms of, I'm always willing to do new things. Like I actually had like a blast filming the spoiler video today. And, you know, I went in high school and even like middle school, you know, me and, you know, my best friend / cousin, Dan, who was actually on the show, at the beginning of the year.
New player, right?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get him to play. He's a busy guy. I'm like, hey man, you will play? Yeah, and then you know whatever. Mm-hmm. But I guess I failed that task. But we always have a blast. Like we've been making videos together forever, like little skits and stuff like that. And we love movies and stuff. And my sister, you know, she went to film school, so you know, and we had kind of had a rocky relationship for the past couple months, and I kind of mended it, and this is like today was like a nice chance for me to kind of hang out and like, hey, come on out, let's make this video. You can do the directing, I don't care, you know, and so like I had a lot of fun doing that, and like skits and like videos like that I think would be a lot of fun. You know, I like comedy, I like making people laugh, so seeing if I can't come up with some funny stuff. I mean, I have a lot of funny stuff planned for when I do that damn cosplay, but you know, but we'll see. I mean, I think that would be cool. No cooking show though. I would love to do a cooking show, but you know, it's hard to do that with Flesh and Blood, but yeah.
It's meat based, that's all.
Yeah.
All right. I do like to keep these a little shorter than I used to. So we are rounding the bases here, heading home here. I do want to congratulate you on reaching 100 episodes. Obviously, we got 2 or 3 more to go, but you're well on your way. It has been a pleasure to watch you, do this and grow the community around you and really solidify yourself as a pillar of the community here in Flesh and Blood. And I think you've done us all a very good service, providing the wholesome content that you do. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that, buddy. It's folks like you and like a lot of other great buds that like make it pretty easy, right? There was a time in the beginning when it was like, it felt like it was just me talking into a mic and into the void. Mm-hmm. And then it's made some good friends out of it. So
absolutely, there's always if it weren't for the buds and you and webcam access, I guess those two, I don't know if I would be as invested into the game and everything around it that I am. And so I do appreciate being able to, I shitpost all the time on the buds, and it's a very, very good time. I give Gary a hard time for liking yellow cards, but between that and tangentially, I shout out to like Tavern Brawlers and Kitchen Table TCG. They still run online armory leagues, and back in the day, that's how it was easier for the Fab Dads to play, because the armory firing off at 6 is tough to reach, but at home at 8:30, oh, perfect. And there was actually recent chatter that they really should bring back online armories, because just the armory, like you were talking about, it's tough to fire for 4-person armory sometimes, like in person there, but those online armories fired 30 people. It was a good time.
My only hope there, to play devil's advocate, is that it doesn't all of a sudden make the 4 people that show up to my army go down to like 3 or 2, because I could just stay home and do it, Mm-hmm. Because I think successful in-store armories help retailer 100%. Mood and perception of the game, I think so, but I agree. I mean, like, I can't even imagine having a child and trying to play this game. So
it is a bitch. All right, I think that is going to wrap it up for us. So this is your spot to plug your stuff. Tell us where we can find you and what you got going on.
Sure. On Twitter, you can find me at FreshBudsPod. I post memes mostly, and I tell you when the podcast is coming out, and then I'll chime in on some stuff every once in a while. The Buds Discord is great. You can find that in my link trees in my Twitter. Actually, everything's in my link tree on the Twitter page, which
that's real easy.
It makes it super easy, isn't it? I remember when they were saying like, "Oh, no more link trees on Twitter." I was like, "What am I gonna do?" But on there, you can find the YouTube page, 500 subscribers, Levi cosplay, and my spoiler video, which will be out on July 2nd, and you might hear a familiar voice in the video. Maybe layered with some other voices, but still in the video. And and then if you like to listen to podcasts on Spotify, whatever. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or whatever, rate the podcast. Like, it helps us all get discovered. Check out mine and do the same. That's, I think, everything.
One of the things I did just before the last couple of days to get into the mindset, I played my intro music. I hadn't heard it in a while. It's really good, so I'm happy to be firing it back up here. So speaking of that, you are watching / listening to the Action Point podcast, the Action Point theme. was written, produced, and performed by Griff. The podcast audio stream is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and soon to be more. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter using the handle Off the Rails TCG. Be sure to head over there to the YouTube and like, subscribe, and click the bell notification to see more content coming out all the time. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well. Off the Rails TCG also has a Discord. Click the invite in the link below and be some of the first people to see the newest content from the channel and talk with my friends and I about all things flesh and blood. And that is gonna do it for us. I don't have a snazzy catchphrase. I gotta come up with something. But today is not that day. Thank you again, Tommy Fresh, for joining the Action Point. It has been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for listening/watching, and we'll catch
It's
you
the
next
action point, no relaxing. Straight from Off the Rails with your host, Mr. Patrick. Show we attack, then defend and react. Calculate the damage, then resolve in a snap. Facts with this here and ember blade, leave no witnesses. I just close the combat chain and we winning this. Listen, this a blaze, we ain't going scar for scar. And I'm feeling like a hero, we ain't going call for card. It's the action point, no relaxing.